This VOD will also be highlighted afterward. All right.
He's here. You want to teleport here?
Don't fucking lie to me, man.
All right,
See,
I'm back.
The goblin gets it. Oh, thanks.
My VR overlay broke, and then restarting it closed VR chat.
Oh, that's fun.
That
yeah,
is
very
fun.
fun.
Go ahead and double check your stream. Go ahead and double check your stream and
Yeah,
your
I'm
recording.
stream
watching
is
right now.
working fine.
Yep.
Yep.
Cool.
I'll deal with the stragglers they come into. Don't worry about them.
Okay.
All right. Well then, Sci-Fry, go ahead.
Are we
and,
good
we
to?
can
Are we
I
good to
guess.
get started?
As far as I know.
All right. So yeah, this is a sort of information resource. This VOD of the recording will be highlighted so that future extras can watch this as a sort of training resource. First of all, my name's Sci-Fry. I'm the head of the DM team and one of the RP director admins at Neon Divide. I have Willixer, who's the Wasteland map DM, and Capo, who is the community admin and head of the mod teams. And we're going to be going over extra work, what the expectations are, and how it works, essentially. So first thing I want to go over is sort of the basic workflow, which if you've done extra work in the past, you'll probably be familiar with. But so all avatars are provided to you as an extra. You don't need to worry about making your own model. Basically how it works is on Friday at the pre-session meeting, which happens an hour before RP start at 8 p.m. Eastern. The DMs will be putting pings in the extras channel using the @roll. Telling you what specific extras they need on this map and for what purpose, and then you can sign up and basically from there go where you want. Then the process for that is you will join one of the DM channels after the pre-session meeting breaks. You'll link up with that DM, make sure you have them added in VR chat, and then request off of them. You won't be adding the map bots because those are for players because they're set to auto accept requests. So you will be joining off of DMs to get into your maps, as well as if you need to travel between maps. If you're like a play extra escorting a player somewhere, then you would be requesting off of that map DM. And map DMs always stay in their map channels in Discord, so that is... you would just switch channels in that instance. But as far as basic expectations, one of the things that we do at Neon Divide that puts us really separate from, I think, other RPs is we don't really, we don't write out a script for you guys. We want you guys to be able to come in and have fun and feel like you can be a sort of living, breathing part of the world. We'll give you a basic prompt, usually, and if you're filling a role like a row slummer, then you can usually also come up with a prompt on your own, if you want to, and then we will go through there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through sort of the maps top to bottom, and I'm going to describe sort of the avatars that we'll be using and the sort of different types of extras that you will be. So if Knickknack is around...
Right here.
Okay.
Coming up to Avatar.
Yeah.
Opposite.
So I don't think we have the new ones in here, so I'll just have
We
you
do.
clone this off of me.
Well, they're not on the map,
we
but
do.
we can get them. But you can clone it off of me. Yep.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So this is the Upper City Guard avatar. This is what you'll be using it mostly if you're an extra in the Upper City. It has a Avatar 3.0 customization menu, which you can open up. You can do different types of equipment. Depending on the situation, you can change the texture of it to match all of the different corporations. And this is all on the same avatar. And then it also has you can take the helmet off, and there is a customizable face under there that you can customize by bringing out your camera and then you know, playing with the sliders until you get something you are satisfied with. There's a whole bunch of different options in there. Feel free to, in your free time, go through those and maybe get a few presets.
Yep. We also have 3 different forms of it as well.
Yeah, there's the heavy version. I don't know. Do you have that one? I think I have that one.
Yep, right here. I got it.
Yeah, so this is for if you're like a captain of the guard or a stronger lieutenant. These are usually with a higher health profile that'll be assigned to you. We'll cover the damage system later on. And then we have the other variant of it, which is the female guard type. So all of these will be available in the map, and these were made by our NPC team with assistance from development. So super good props to them for making all of these multiple NPC roles basically into one customizable avatar. And you can do a lot of cool things with them. They're very nice. So Upper City Extra roles, mostly what you're going to be doing is security work. Because obviously the Upper City characters are people who work for the 7 major mega corporations of the setting. They are big, important people, and being a big, important person in a cyberpunk setting leads to people wanting to shoot you to make you not a big, important person. So they tend to hire a lot of security. So that is the main job that you will be asked to do. Stuff like checking people's IDs, patrolling their different corporate sectors, stuff like that, and occasionally being called in for like more heavier combat.
I'd like to add on to that really quickly.
Yeah, go for it.
That this is not meant to be like boring, just do your job role play. It is absolutely something that I myself and a bunch of other DMs have noticed that the most fun and the most I guess immersive guard roleplay that we've seen is when people build their personalities into these characters. They build kind of just, they build like a funny, goofy, or some kind of like special personality for this very temporary character, and that lends some kind of credibility to it. So, crack some jokes, interact with your fellow extras. Don't you don't have to every single time be the boring guard roleplay. It can be it can be more than just that, and it should be more than just that.
And if you remember if any of you remember the previous season of roleplay, what we did in the Upper City for extras, assigning everybody a little bit of a side quest objective to go with your normal job, that sort of stuff really helps to keep the flow of RP alive and give you something fun to do. But moving on to the row, going down one, most of what you will be in the row is the sort of basic slumber model, which I think, Nick, if you have that one.
Speaking of, by the way, Nick is actually on our NPC dev team, so he helps them a lot with organization stuff like that, which is why he has everything.
Yeah, I hope I have the one that we updated with on here. If not, I will find the one that we have for now.
The season 2 one.
Yeah, the season 2 one. If someone has,
there are a couple people that have.
We have it, so yeah.
Because we're working on getting the variants for it, but right now I don't have them on hand because my avatar list is full of all the other ones we've been working on. So
I know I have the I have the season 2
we got it,
but not the season 3.
We got the season 2 one. The season 3 one we're going to be uploading soon, but
yeah. So this is another very customizable model. So Slummers in the Row can take the form of many different roles. You can be mercenaries, you can be lower level corporate workers, you can be people who are like looking for work, looking to hire PCs for a job, kind of like a fixer sort of situation, or just people milling about in the streets with a sort of side objective of their own. And this avatar, I think, is the most customizable out of all of the customizable ones. It's got a lot going on.
Yep, and we're adding even more to it. We've got new hairstyles, new face types, new textures on them. The plan is to have one, especially for the row, one for each type of class of character. A customizable Decker, a customizable Street Samurai, and one for the Wasteland that has variants for like a water tanker, or what we call a water baron, or a rust creep, or an Indiana Jones style character. One for the upper city that has, a suit and a tie, or is like the cubicle worker that's just tired of his 9 to 5, stuff like that. We have all those plans for this model as our base. We also have a female variant as well. So in case you didn't want to play, or it doesn't apply to you exactly, female base is also available once we have those ready.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the most, I think, sort of role diversity you're going to get is when you're with that model. You could be pretty much asked to do anything under the sun as long as it involves one of those. But moving to the Undercity, the Undercity is the map with the most magic characters. It's where most of the spirits live, and we have a lot of extra models for those, playing those sort of like magical like wisps and stuff. If you have the little spirit guy model, there are some of those.
You got the little one, I got the big one.
We cannot see them from here.
Yep. Yep.
Oh, that's right, they have the
bring
fade
it forth.
difference. Yep.
Yeah, the fade thing is definitely a thing. So the dither, yeah, let's bring that closer for everyone to see.
Mm-hmm.
These are the brand new ones. Sketchu literally cranked these out
these
in
are
a
brand
day.
new.
That's how crazy she is. She went and made these.
So-
There's like a variant for each major element, stuff like that. We've got our old little spear boy. You've probably seen them before. These adorable little bastards.
Holy shit, these are great.
Mm-hmm.
Little difference on these big ones. These big ones are greater spirits. If you do
Yeah.
get picked to be one of these are very powerful beings. You will most likely be instructed by DMs when you do see these, because they are not common by any means.
I do notice there's weight painting error on the hand there.
Yes, there was one. We
Yeah.
noticed it during testing last week.
They'll be
Yeah,
fixed by
most of
tomorrow.
what you'll be
not
playing
an own, that's how we didn't see it.
most of what you'll
Yeah, I
be
just wanna
playing
make sure.
is these little handheld puppet
guys.
spirits.
These little
So the
buggers.
cool thing about these models is that this little guy is actually parented to your hand, and you sort of move them around almost like a puppet. And you can, like, they have that dynamic bone system, so where if you move your hand in a straight line, they'll sort of ease into that movement and they'll move naturally, and they sort of weeble wobble around. Now, there are a very certain number of characters in the Undercity who are spirit talkers. Those are the only people who can communicate with spirits, otherwise they sort of just speak in sort of incomprehensible gibberish. And just make,
In a
little
sense.
warbly warble sounds.
In the sense that toddlers. That's how their mentality kind of is.
Yeah,
And there
they're
is-
like Jawas.
And we do have like a spirit mod. We do use a voice mod setting when we have these guys. So you will be getting those if you do actually work in the Undercity as in the spirit. But also, little
And
thing, if you ever get tired, there's a position and it moves it to your head, so you don't have to hold your hand up all day. That's needed because a lot of people said like, man, my arm gets tight after 4 hours of this.
I didn't even know it did that, and I've had this
Yes,
avatar
you
for-
have there's a toggle on it that will move it from being parented to your hand to being parented to your head, so you can give your arm a break.
Mm-hmm. So now you can just
Please
wiggle your
do.
head around and do cute
Yeah.
things.
A fair point that I will make, however, is that we do have other hand puppet avatars for extras to use. Unfortunately, not all of them have that feature, and you will actually just have to hold your hand out and use it as a puppet for an hour at a
Yeah.
time. Usually, though, we'll try to limit the usage of those ones so that they don't so that you don't have to do it for that extended period of time.
or just get a chair and sit and do it that way.
Or
The,
have an armrest.
the
Have an
biggest
armrest
the
on
biggest
your turn to
sorry,
hold it here.
reel it in. But yeah, the biggest thing, like Undercity extra wise, I think that people like would want you to sell, is to really just like the Undercity is like the hub of magic. So like anything you can do as an extra to make it feel more like, you know, mystical, air quotes. That's that kind of stuff is always encouraged. We love to see creativity from the extras.
Another thing is the fact it's easy to say.
Mhm.
Oh, I said the other thing is because one thing. Oh, actually, there's one of them. Little critic icons. These will be. I'm showing hands. I don't have hands. Excuse me. The slime right there next to us is a thing known as a critter icon. There is a 4-in-1 combo here. It's a slime, a bug, a lizard, and a hamster. And so
all
these
on
are
the
also
same
hand
avatar.
puppets. Yes. And so these will be like hand puppet things that you can actually have control around and scurry around places as well. Little living life, not super major, but they do help make the world feel more living.
So what I'm gonna do for the next section is I'm gonna turn things over to Willixer because the Wasteland is the most involved map for extras by a long mile, and the one where you will be doing the most regular combat because the Wasteland is full of scorpions and crabs and sandworms that are all dangerous to players should they choose to venture out into the sands. So Will,
Yes,
you can go ahead and give us
indeed
the
it is.
rundown.
I would love to.
And Nick
so,
can demonstrate the avatars as you go through them.
Yeah, so Nick, if you could come join me up on stage real quick, just so that everyone can see.
Of course.
So the Wasteland is, as Sci-Fi said, rather unique as extra roles go and as NPC models go. We have the widest variety of models. Normally, you'll probably be a monster in the Wastelands, and there are a wide variety of those. But I'll get to those in a moment because I would like Nicknack's help here to show off a couple of the other ones that we have access to, such as the bandits and the pillbugs. Those are probably the two most frequent use ones, other than the monsters outright. So bandits are about what you'd expect, kind of rough and tumble pirates, thieves, gangs out in the deserts, very, very kind of Mad Max style behavior. And I don't remember. Do we have upgraded season 3 models for them?
Not yet, but that's the plan.
Not yet, but
We're
that is
doing
the
a
plan.
rework
You
for
are
them. Yeah.
in the ground. There you go.
Yep,
Okay.
apologies.
So this is what you'll usually see for bandits. They're going to look very Mad Max-y. They have like the hoods. They have the kind of Borderlands style-ish look. For now, however, as Nick did mention, we are going to be making season 3 versions of them that more fit the art style that we have for most of our other NPCs. There's really not much to these guys aside from the fact that if you ever are role-playing as them, then your goal is to be bandits. Like it's a pretty self-explanatory position. And there is an area in the Wasteland that you'll be directed to. You will be handed the weapons that you will be using, and DMs will direct you. That's pretty much it for them. The other one that I mentioned is pillbugs. You down there are already a pillbug. You already know. Pillbugs are one of our other very, very customizable avatars. Knickknack up here is Knickknack and Capo are both showing off the wide customizability of these pillbugs. They do have their avatars 3.0 menu, their radial menu that allows you to change things like the goggles that they're wearing, the colors of their shells, the colors of their underbodies, items that they may be holding or wearing. It's very, very customizable, similar to the Slumber model that was shown off earlier, Slummers and Guards. These guys specifically, they speak gibberish. It's very rare that you find anyone who will actually speak their language. They are traders. These are literally like Jawas. They will trade anything. They will barter back and forth with anyone, and they are reckless to a fault. And that's pretty much it. They are just reckless Jawas that trade things and speak absolute gibberish. Yep, exactly. There we go. So those are the two most normal models that we are going to have for you in the Wasteland. So now let's move on to the less normal ones, the monsters. The Wasteland has a wide variety of fauna that is not usually friendly. Maybe in some rare cases, but don't rely on it. The first one we'll start with is the small crab, which Capo has right here. Now these don't strictly have like full like actual formalized names. It's kind of just like whatever people will call them. Someone's called them cockroaches, they're little spiders, or they're crabs or something like that. But yeah, they're hard carapace. They have bite animations. They have slight customizability. They can have a scorpion tail or wings or both or none. That's pretty much it for them for now. Their functionality is limited, but they do have their spider arcade legs that will just move down to meet the ground. So don't worry about where you are in space. They're gonna match the floor, and they're gonna walk accordingly. And their body is constrained to the rotation of your head. Now these guys are extremely timid, unless they are in large groups. How aggressive they are is directly proportional to how many of them there are compared to whatever they're hunting. So 1 against 3, they'll be the one will be extremely timid. 3 against 1, they will be very assertive. They will be very aggressive. But generally, they're timid, they are scavengers, and they're not incredibly intelligent. But that's pretty much it. They'll go pretty much anywhere in the Wasteland. These guys are the least, I want to say the least, if not the second least limited creature in the Wastelands in regards to where they're allowed to go. A point that I should make here is that there are limitations to where some creatures in the Wasteland can go. None of them are allowed in the Oasis except for one. So these guys are not allowed in the Oasis, and they're not really allowed in town anymore. But they're allowed pretty much everywhere else. They can explore. And putting an extra in this position is a good way to get an opportunity to learn the Wasteland map, because it is by far kind of one of the biggest maps that we have in Neon Divide. And people get lost in it all the time, even if you give them straight directions, very simple directions. So using these is a good way to kind of get the feel for the areas and get a feel for some landmarks. So moving on, I am actually going to show off the next one, which is the one size up creature. It's
one size, he says.
Get it loaded? Well, yeah, that's the thing, one size. So this is the giant scorpion. It is a little bit larger, as you can see. These things are incredibly tanky and compete for being one of the apex predators of the Wasteland. They are usually more reserved. They're territorial and prideful, and they are very intelligent hunters. And they're also very strong. These do have a little bit of customizability with their skins. So you have skin variants of this paint, which is actually for a Keep Alive NPC that we have. So don't use it unless specifically instructed to. But we also have just the regular brown, then we have a gray, and then we have a dark brown. The colors are a little bit harder to see in some cases, but you know, they're more evident in the Wasteland in the harsh sunlight. They just simply have some just clamping down with their claws, and then they have a small menu for audio, and that's pretty much it. When instructed to be one of these creatures, you will want to avoid town. And you'll probably want to avoid too much conflict, but you will maybe be you'll maybe be let loose into the wastelands to go out and hunt, to go be this creature. But if I were to find Capo in his form right now, I might get a snack. And he would die, and he'd get to go respawn somewhere else. Part of making the wastelands feel as alive as they are and as alive as they can be is letting the extras go out and actually just exist in the wasteland. I might say I want 3 people to go be small crabs out in the wasteland, and I'll send out 1 person as this crab and maybe 2 people as something else, and they will hunt each other. They will behave as these creatures, and that's what brings life to the wasteland, because you can get those very impromptu moments of people coming up on maybe a giant scorpion hunting a small crab. Yeah, I don't mind that. Where was I? Yeah, you'll get these impromptu moments. Some important notes about this guy. They can't climb up hills very well. That's pretty much it.
Yeah,
Now,
Will.
moving on
By the
to
way,
the
Will
next
has a
creature.
full document list of all of this info. So
Yes,
we're doing broad
you know
strokes
what?
here. So
that is true.
so
Broad strokes. You were
Don't
correct.
don't
I should narrow
be
it down.
afraid. Well, I'm saying if you can't absorb all of this right now, there will be
Yeah,
places
we
to
do have a.
read up, and you
This is
can
a good-
always ask
this is
a
a good
DM
time
in
to
a
mention that we
moment.
do have the larger document. Yeah, we have the larger document outlining all of the behaviors of these creatures for extras to read over as they need to. Just for a quick rundown on how each of the creatures acts, and then obviously you're able to ask questions to the DMs who will be in the DM channel in Discord if you ever have any questions or are confused about behaviors. And I saw
Biggest advice I
um,
could give to an extra, entirely, is just the only dumb question is the one you don't ask.
Exactly. And I understand that the wasteland creatures are confusing and complicated, and there's a lot of them, more
of
so than
moving
any other
parts.
map. A lot of moving parts in the wasteland. So it is entirely okay to ask these questions. So the next one we're going to move on to is, I have to highlight your capsule because I can't see. This is, okay, so Capo is going to be showing you the sandworm, which is one of the most terrifying creatures of the wasteland, arguably the apex predator of the wasteland. The sand, a giant worm-like creature that burrows and swims its way through the dune sands of the wasteland. They stick mostly to lower altitudes whenever possible, swimming through the valleys rather than the peaks, unless they are actively hunting something. They're very lazy, and they are they're ambush predators that patrol throughout the wasteland, and then return to their sandworm queen, who is permanently embedded in the ground, to feed her. So that she can further produce more sandworms. These things are incredibly tanky. It will take a large crew of people and a lot of effort to actually manage to kill one of these things. However, it should be noted that it will be very hard for you as an extra to track whether or not you are taking those hits. Simply because from our damage system perspective, the combat system that we have is reliant on capsules on your actual body, but this is a hand puppet.
Yeah,
And so
this is a big hand
if they're
puppet.
shooting at the hand
so,
puppet, there's a huge hand puppet.
Yeah,
It's-
so your head, when you are a sandworm, if this is his hand, your point of view is up here. Just to give you an
Lower,
idea.
a
Yeah.
little lower.
Just to give you an
So
idea.
a couple of good practice, a couple of best practice tips for being a sandworm. You should definitely play space yourself down a lot. Otherwise, your hand is going to be really far up, and you'd have to crouch down really far in real life to get your hand under the ground. It's better to just play space yourself down into the floor so that your chest is right about level with the ground,
Yes.
and then it'll
By
be
the
a
way,
lot easier and
if
lower
you're
effort.
unfamiliar with PlaySpace Mover, you can install OVR advanced settings on Steam and then ask somebody to help you set it up in the tech support channels in the Discord.
Yes, that software is an absolute lifesaver when acting as a sandworm. Now, there are some complicated features of a sandworm that I don't necessarily need to get into, but basically, they can bite, they can dive into the sand, and they can breach out of the sand.
Yeah, these are your boss
and
monsters.
While they are underground,
in the
this is what you
Wasteland.
see. Yes, these are the boss monsters. You see one of these, you run. They are, these are not something that you fight unprepared. That would be my advice. But yeah, that's the scariest thing in the Wasteland, the sandworm. It is the most technically complicated to use extras model that we currently have. But once you get used to it, you can build a skill set and ensure that you are able to effectively roleplay as a sandworm if necessary. If that's not something you are comfortable with, there are obviously other roles that you can fulfill. And now on to the last Wasteland creature. This one is a little different.
That's okay.
Well, we're gonna do
question on the
questions.
sandworms.
We're gonna do questions after we have the overview.
yeah.
So keep it in your
We'll
head.
Yep.
Sounds good.
Write it down. Don't forget it. I am going to switch into the final Wasteland creature, which is the newest Wasteland creature as well. All right. Forgive the legs for a moment.
Oh my god.
Yes.
He's ready.
This avatar is the Strider. This is the only herbivore creature in the Wastelands. It is slow. It is gangly. It is passive as hell. The best way to really describe this thing's behavior would be that of a cow or a camel combined. That's effectively what they are. They're big alien camels. They walk very slowly through the sands to avoid detection, and that's pretty much it. They are herbivores. They will eat plants from trees. They will mash things up with their tusks, and they will suck it up through their face. They're pretty weird. They've got a few sounds, and they have some work-in-progress features that I would encourage you to look at in the future, but not presently, since they don't work. But what you're really going to want to focus on are just the audio features and the fact that this is very strangely set up by necessity. Everything from the neck forward is bound to your head, and everything from the base of the neck back is bound to your chest. So you are encouraged to try your best to not bend your chest if at all possible. Otherwise, you get some real weird stuff, and things don't quite work properly. It kind of the magic is broken. But yeah, these things are very, very easy. These things are very easy behavior-wise. This is the only creature that's allowed in the Oasis in the Wasteland. But technically, these are hard to maintain as an avatar, simply because you have to be so hyper aware of your body positioning. Otherwise, it looks really bad.
Yeah, the
and
hardest
I am
thing
aware of
as an
that, and
extra
working
you'll be
every
asked
day
to
make
do
them look
is
good.
doing one of these creatures.
Yes, it is one of the hardest, but in many cases, one of them. All right. So, as I mentioned earlier, and as Sci-Fi reminded me, we do have documentation that is being written up and being posted that has in-depth analyses of each of these creatures, what their behaviors are, where they hang out, what they eat, how they act. And you are more than welcome and are strongly encouraged to take a look at that documentation when it is released, or refer back to it.
You can also hit up the
when you are
Wasteland
being asked to be a
DMs.
role player. Yes, and you can also hit up myself or the other two Wasteland DMs, Detet and Spellboy, and we would all be more than happy to give you a brief rundown during during a session or as we're setting you up for how to act as these creatures. But the information is out there, and also on each of these maps, you will be able to you'll be able to use the avatars board to select one of these avatars, and you can practice with it as necessary for a little bit before and potentially after a roleplay session, and if you need to get used to any of them. That'll be a perfect time to get used to things like the sandworm.
All right.
Yeah.
I think that's about it for overview. Capo, is there anything important we missed?
Trying to think. No. Like I said, there'll be a lot of documentation given to you guys. So if you have any questions, hopefully we can answer it. If not, yes, DMs, previous extras. I was an extra. I've been where you were literally last season, so I can help with any question that I can give you. I can hopefully give you any answer to any question if you have.
Yeah, the biggest thing is that it's, like, have fun with it. Like,
Yes.
Don't feel pressured, Nobody's has like, like top level expectations for you guys. We want you guys to be able to come in, be loose with it, be able to experiment, have fun with character ideas. But I think we're going to open up for Q&A. I will take some questions from my chat, but we'll go with questions that you guys here have first. I think we had a question from who was the first?
Avatars they would say would work better with full body rather than just headset and hands, like with the Strider, for example, since full body includes feet and waist. Would you recommend?
I think because of the IK, it might work worse with full body.
Yeah.
It actually does not work worse, though, so it doesn't quite work worse with full body. Something that I should point out is that all of the Wasteland monsters are compatible with full body tracking. However, because they all use the Spider IK system, which completely bypasses the need to have legs in VR in the first place, it's actually not required to have full body tracking for any of them. You can still keep it on if you want to swap back and forth between being some kind of other thing like a bandit or a pillbug, but you are not required to have full body tracking for any of the Wasteland creatures.
Yeah, I mean, full body tracking is obviously a added benefit. It'll help URP better, but I don't think there's any models where it's like specifically built for full body.
And in fact, one of our Wasteland critters, the small crab, is actually compatible with desktop even. So for some reason, if your VR isn't working at all, you still have a position to play within the roleplay. We even have, for example, one other desktop compatible one for the row called the Sweepo. Updated for you guys, probably haven't seen it yet. But the Sweepo's been updated. And this
my god!
Oh, look at him go.
I love him so much.
Right,
and
he's
then wonderful.
He's got little things, and he's got a seat, and he can put his arm down and actually go around and sweep stuff. He's fantastic, and he's completely desktop. Yeah, we added the seat. Yeah. Oh yeah, and then of course you're gonna kick me. Of course. Hold on.
Oh no, you kicked the Sweepo!
Yeah,
How could you kick the Sweepo? What a good little boy!
So yeah, Knickknack is one of the organization workers on the NPC dev team, and they've been cranking out amazing stuff like that. But we'll keep it rolling with questions, though. I think somebody had a question about sandworms. So go ahead and say
Mr.
that.
Fritz, yes.
Yeah, this is probably gone over in the sheets, but like they stick to like the sandy areas and not like the rocks, right? Just go through.
Yes, that's an excellent point. For anyone who didn't hear Fritz say that, he's asking about sandworms sticking to sandy areas as opposed to rocky areas or harder surface areas. Yes, that is a very good point. Sandworms do only stay in areas that have sand, deep dune sand. If there are rocky or hard surfaces, they are strongly discouraged from being on top of those surfaces for any more than a few seconds. Sandworms, as I mentioned, are incredibly lazy and would much prefer the ease of swimming through natural dune sand rather than actually having to use their legs to support their body weight. So, yes, you are going to be only only diving in the sand. You would only ever go onto a hard surface if you were actively chasing something that you were sure you could pounce on, get, and then go back into the sand. If it's any more effort than that, then you would not try. Good question.
Yeah.
Any other questions, folks?
Question on
Oh.
Spirits.
As a spirit, when a spirit talker talks to us, how do we respond? Do we just understand him when we say the same mannerisms that a spirit would say?
I think usually if there is something that the player is like asking you for like information about something, and if you don't know it, you can ask one of the Undercity DMs. But as far as talking with a spirit talker goes, they can understand spirits talking, like just talking normally, essentially. So if somebody comes up and they use a spirit talker ability, when you're spirit, you would go set your voice to whisper range, and then you would talk to them normally. And
Again, there's
most
also-
spirit talkers have a way to clearly indicate this.
There would be a document also that'll point out spirit talkers and spirit behavior for you guys as well.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
So there will be documentation to help with that.
Let's see. Any other questions in the crowd? Metamir again? Go ahead.
Can you give us a rundown of the kind of roles that extras will be playing in the Shadowrun mission map?
Yeah, the Shadowrun mission map. So we have the inner city, which is usually where people will go to have Shadowruns, which is covert operations against a mega corporation. So it will be mostly the same as an upper city guard. You'll be corporate security, highly trained, but the important thing is that you will be more on alert than a normal patrol guard, and you will be more attentive and more sort of like outwardly looking for threats, because you'll usually be guarding something important that the Shadowrunners want. And there'll probably a fair amount more combat though, and we're thinking of having a separate workshop for combat in the coming weeks.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Yep. One of these are one of the concepts that we've initially put together here. This is our initial concept for the Valkyrie
That
Heavy.
big
This is
lad.
a big boy. He's got a few things. He's gone spiky since some people have seen him last time. He's got a jetpack. We're probably going to give them a variant for Leap, because we saw that happen because of Capo here, because he had his profile on. He jumped. We thought, man, that was scary as hell, and we put a jetpack on it.
Oops.
One of the fun things about these guys is that well, they're big, they're slow, but you're gonna hear them coming.
Daddy?
So they're the Cabal.
So,
Sound effects.
but that stuff's still being in concept. So,
Very cool. All right. I think, and if you have any other questions, you can always put them in the extras channel in the Discord.
I see a couple more hands.
I saw a couple more hands on that point, actually, yeah.
Yeah.
So, Kid up
I
front,
see.
first one I saw.
Yep. Nick?
Yeah, I was wondering about like the voice mod settings for the spirits. Is that going to change, or staying relatively the same?
It's changing
voice mod
to
settings
be a
for
little
spirits.
bit better. Yes. So me and RK, who was the original one of the Spirit Wranglers, we started working on it. We're trying to make it a little bit better. It'll be in the documentation. You will get it.
Yep, that will absolutely be in documentation.
Voice
Shiny.
mod is a very good software to get for extra work. It'll help you sell things.
Yeah,
I was about to ask if it was a requirement to have voice mod. For
Not a
Oh, yeah,
requirement,
okay. If
but
it's a requirement, have voice mod.
it would be very
Strongly
highly
suggested.
encouraged, and it's not that hard to set up, and people will help
I
you
think
set
they
it
only.
up.
It's only, I think, required on the spirits, and that's it. That's the only one that
Mm-hmm.
requires it, quote unquote.
I should actually,
We'll also be-
I should actually mention that for wasteland creatures, all of the wasteland creature models all have their own audio. You do not need voice changers on a
Yeah,
wasteland
all the
creature.
wasteland
They all have
monsters have
preset
audio
audio
built
in
in.
their menus.
That changed since I was an extra, making clicking noises when I was on it.
Yeah.
but
It was fun.
essentially, voice mod is encouraged, but it's not required, and hopefully we'll be having more roles besides spirits in the Undercity and other places like it that would require such a thing. So even if you don't have voice mod, it doesn't mean you can't participate.
I think my favorite new Undercity extra role has to be the 2 low security Masaru guards going around asking for people's IDs.
Speaking of the low end security
speaking
guard,
of one of the ones you'll find. If you're Undercity, you'll know who these guys are sooner or later.
hello, we're Masaru, and we don't pay our guards very well while we're in Undercity. One of the shiny new features on them is because we couldn't get that in the map for now, but
I'm waiting.
we do have something fancy we can use.
Ooh.
Get on the floor.
Taser.
Stun baton.
Stay on the ground. Anyway, yes. So they have a stun baton. They're planning to have like little riot shields or something. But the best thing about them also is they are also customizable. If I put the visor up, the visor comes up. The faces can change, and we also have a female variant. I just don't know if I have that one on hand. But again, we're customization. NPC,
They're all going to be in the
know.
map by launch,
Yes.
so you won't have to worry about like having them saved or anything.
I will
One of the
always mention. Go continue.
go ahead.
My points after. I would say the
I
one
was just
thing
gonna say.
You said
latency, the pain in the butt.
continue,
Latency,
and
the
then-
pain in the butt. I know. I'm gonna.
Nick back first.
Okay.
Nick first.
One of the biggest. That's fine. One of the biggest things that we're pushing with NPCs is a bit more agency with them, which is why all the customizations are coming through. All the, more prominent humanoid roles are coming through for a lot of the other maps, more dynamic stuff like that. We're also giving you guys sets of profiles to use that will actively track your HP, give you traits and stuff, just like how the characters have on their character sheets and things. So hopefully by launch, those systems will be in, and you can access them and understand the systems alongside the players. So you'll have, I won't say as much agency, because at the end of the day, the player characters are the player characters, but it's to encourage the world to feel more proper, more alive, and stuff like that with these new tools we're giving you.
All right, and
You
now
saw the same
Captain.
thing. That was it. The
There
NTC
we go.
profile.
That was it?
So there we
Okay,
go.
well, there you
Solved
go.
itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the biggest change for season 3 with the extras is the damage system. So we have an actual way that will track your HP when you get hit by a registering. Not only will it flash red on your screen to indicate that you've been hit, but it will also tick up your health counter, which is located in the bottom right. So if I were to if I were to just,
Bottom right of your UI, I should mention, or your UI or your.
just go through everybody here and just make sure we just, just bullets for everyone.
And I'm gonna extend the mag. It's a lot smaller than it needs to be.
Yeah, it is. It used to be like 30 rounds.
There you go. Now it's in no reload delay. There you go. Just instantly. There you go.
There we go. But yeah, as you can see, some of you have the green circle that is healthy, and then if you accumulate more damage, it'll go into minor wound, and then it'll go higher. And the thing about this is your NPC profile will assign how much damage it takes for you to take a wound. So 27 health for somebody might be healthy, but for other people, maybe if they're designed to be like a weaker, like a one-hit like NPC, then that would be them being majorly injured. And we will have the different wound levels in the onboarding doc. And if you are expected to be in combat, the DM will tell you, either calling shots directly or telling you what your HP threshold is.
As I did mention beforehand, this is a system that is fundamentally incompatible with hand puppet models such as spirits or sandworms, given that this is based on hitting your head, torso, and legs, and a hand puppet does not exactly match any of those. So when you are a hand puppet creature, you will most likely need to defer to DM judgment on when you are taking damage or when you are dying when you're in combat.
Yeah, there will usually be a DM calling out hits anyway, because the one thing that the combat system doesn't track is melee. But obviously, if a player character comes up with a giant hammer and they slash you with it, you should, act accordingly. So
One
there's
more
still a degree of
thing,
RP that goes into it.
One more thing that is not quite ready, but is going to be tracked hopefully here in the future, if I could grab it real quick, are one of the many new props that we have. Did I use it? I probably did. Yeah, there it goes. I did pull the trigger. There it goes. Boom.
Nice. What is it?
Yeah.
It
was the
it's a
grenade. So, yeah, we have all sorts of variants for the grenades and stuff. So they're going to be giving off very obvious visual particles and stuff like that. They're not perfect, so they're right now role played out until we get that system in. So again, those will be visual effects on the map for you to track as well, along with the melee. But we'll go more into that when we do a more advanced combat workshop as well.
Yeah. And if the combat system gets too confusing, we can always go back to the old way of just calling shots for you.
We're spoiled, Sci-Fry. We're spoiled.
Yeah.
There's too many fancy systems
Spoiled with all
now.
these nice systems. So really quickly, do we have any other questions from the people who are here in VR? Any more questions? I'm looking for raised hands.
There's a small gobbo in the front.
Oh,
You barely can see them.
okay.
One more.
Yeah.
One more.
I think I might actually already know the answer to this, but if there's other ideas for NPC characters, is that something that we can come to the D ask about or something like that?
Absolutely, 100%. We
goblins,
love.
stuff like
That's
that.
one of the biggest things
absolutely.
that we love. Is so if you have an idea for an NPC model, you can hit up Nick for the NPC dev team, and also. One of the things that we saw is if you guys have ideas for specific characters or objectives that you would want to do as an extra, we absolutely 100% want to inspire that creativity. We want this to be fun for you guys. It shouldn't be clocking in to be a video game NPC for 4 hours. You should get a chance to roleplay too.
Mm-hmm.
Going a little
Just because you're not the main character, and let me reinforce, you are not the main character. But just because you are not the main character doesn't mean you can't still have a good time and be a character. You can still be an interesting part of the universe, and you are encouraged to be so, for the sake of making the world feel alive, which is ultimately the final goal of having as many extras as we are asking for.
I mean, in anime, everybody likes the side characters better, so
I mean, yeah, people live and die by these side characters. So be a side character that someone loses their mind for. Be a side character that's cool enough to earn a fan club. That's the idea.
That's happened to people before. NPCs have risen up through the ranks where they've become proper player characters if they've been invested in enough.
So that's a big thing to talk about. Also, for character waves, as you may know, one of the biggest ways that you can get accepted to Vintage on your eventual character application when we have slots is by putting in extra work. That gets you on the basically fast track to becoming a mainline cast member.
Not only does it put you on the fast track, but it also gives you an opportunity to experience each of the maps in independent ways, in very low investment ways. So you can go extra for the Upper City, see if it's for you. Maybe Upper City roleplay is not quite for you. Maybe you've seen the kind of characters that are out there and it doesn't quite float your boat. Go down to the Wasteland, think, hey, maybe I'll be a crab for a couple of episodes. You try it, it's kind of cool, kind of neat. And then you decide it's not for you. An objectively wrong opinion, in my opinion, but everyone has their own opinions. So then you go to the row, and then maybe you go to the row of the Undercity. You roleplay as a spirit, and you think, you know what? I get the vibe for this map. This is super cool. I want to go here. You now have 5 or 6 sessions under your belt of extra work where you've had the opportunity to experience all of these other maps, and that means a lot when you are applying as a character, because it shows that you have not only invested yourself in this roleplay as a whole, but you've also put in the effort to experience enough of the world to know where you would be the most comfortable.
Yeah, plus it's a good way to get inspired for character ideas.
Very much so.
You actually have
And
one
the
note
biggest
because you
thing-
just reminded me.
Go ahead.
Okay. One big note on it, because I remember the fact because you did say that we are watching when you doing extra work, and that does help when figuring out who becomes a character. But there is one thing you always have to be careful with. As an extra, if there's a major scene going on and PCs are talking, try to, like, you can mime in the background, but try not to over talk it. They're trying to hold up a story, and if there's a side conversation that's bleeding into it, it crosses a lot of the wires, and you have to make sure you can keep those separate. So be aware of your situation when conversations and stuff like that are happening. You guys are important, but understand that there's a story sometimes going on in the world around you, and your character might not know what's going on.
Don't cross the beams.
All right. I think we're pretty. I mean, we're just about at an hour, so I think we're pretty good to wrap. I don't see any.
If we have any last-minute questions, I think we can do maybe like one or two final questions.
Yeah.
So unless anyone here has any, I'm not seeing any. Okay. Do you have any in your chat, Sci-Fry? Any questions from chat?
Not any that I just see off the cuff. But I'm sure
let's give them a second.
Plenty. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll give them a second to roll in if they do have questions.
You have a question over
I'll
here?
let the.
No. Okay. Sorry. Thought I saw a hand up.
I put in my chat. I have a question. What is your favorite impromptu extra moment where an extra spice something up for you? I think the extra who did made a custom model that was like a discount Goldman and did a Goldman impression.
Sidious.
That was one of the player characters.
Yeah.
Torok in the Wasteland, Decidius.
Yep,
he is a fantastic modeler.
He worked
he's
so
a fantastic
he worked
player.
he worked for so long on that Goldman impression. He got it down to like so good.
Then he died in like 5 minutes because Goldman shot him in the face.
Yeah. I think my favorite is something on a totally smaller scale. But Knick-Knack was showing off the little critter, the critter hand puppet avatar earlier. One of those avatars, the hamster. Sometimes during the end of roleplay, people will, like extras, will just like call you all back in. Especially in the Wasteland, we'll call you all back in from the desert, and we'll say, okay. Maybe be some slummers, maybe be like a lizard or a hamster or something like that. Just be like stuff floating around town. One of the times when we did that, we had, I believe it was Kid Canuck over here. We had a hamster, and Jiggle, the restaurant owner in the Wasteland, took a liking to one of these hamsters, grabbed it, and named it. And so now we have Butlet the hamster, who is the restaurant mascot and pet that almost everyone in the Wasteland knows and loves, and they've trained this hamster. They've trained this hamster to a greater degree than I think you should be able to train a hamster. But yes, we now have a hamster that is a keep alive NPC. Named Butlet. It's just a hamster. That's my favorite. I think that's definitely my favorite.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap us here. If you have any additional questions, feel free to post them wherever. Always, you can reach out to DMs 100% of the time. This VOD will be highlighted, and the highlight link will be posted and pinned in the extras channel so that you guys can reference it. But other than that,
I will say that if you're reaching out to DMs, please be clear about what you're reaching out about and where you're reaching out from, because sometimes it might just seem like a random message. We want to make sure that we know who we're responding to, what we're responding about, what the context is. We want to be professional about these things if they are things to be professional about.
There's 150 player characters, not counting all of you extras, so remembering all your names sometimes gets hard.
Yep, there's only so many names that we can remember, so if you just want to start a message with a question off with saying, hey, I'm an extra for Neon Divide, I have this question for you as a DM. There you go. That's it. All right. That's all you gotta do, and then we can continue the conversation.
Then I hope to see you guys in the map next Friday. Let's have a great launch
Looking forward
day.
to episode 1. Yeah.
Fantastic.
All right. I'm gonna hop out of here. Thanks for helping with the workshop, guys.
Absolutely. My pleasure. All right. You guys are all free to go now.